The story begins in 1859 with the publication of Darwin's book on the origin of species. But nowhere in his book did Darwin claim that he was able to fully explain the phenomenon of evolution. His book sets out to describe his theory of natural selection, but he knew that natural selection alone could not explain the incredible variety of life on Earth. In fact, in the original version of his great book, he does not use the word evolution at all. But what he did stress, however, on 6 or 7 occasions, was the missing link in the chain of reasoning that was needed to comprehensively explain the variety of life on Earth. Natural selection explains how life could select the best survivors from a population and then transmit those selected organisms along with their favoured characteristics into the future, thereby improving the survival chances of the species. Natural selection selects out the best survivors and transmits them via the process of reproduction into the future. But it does not design those survivors. It only chooses from what already exists, but it does not design new organisms. Where do these new designs come from? Darwin didn't know. He knew that variety was always there when natural selection needed it, and he used the expression the unknown laws of variation to describe the origin of this variety. Fast forward to the middle of the 20th century. The concept of genes, or units of inheritance, had now been identified, and the new thinking, or the modern synthesis, concluded that during the process of the reproduction of the genetic code, copying errors would arise that could explain the never-ending supply of variety, or new genes, needed as the raw material for natural selection. This idea has become known as neo-Darwinism, and evolution was now defined as the mechanism of natural selection acting on the raw material supplied by copying errors. Natural selection is Darwin's well-understood mechanism, and the variety created by copying errors is the raw material needed by that mechanism. The human genome contains approximately 3 billion bytes of information. There are only 4 letters in this digital code, and it is the order in which these 4 letters are strung together that enable organisms to be constructed. Now, imagine a computer program consisting of 3 billion bytes of information, or code, and then imagine inserting a single random error into this code. Remember, this is an error. Even a full stop out of place could damage this computer program and eventually cause it to crash. Such an error will only harm the program. There is no way that such a random change could somehow create another useful version of that program. The idea that a series of random errors can somehow create another useful program is a mathematical impossibility. The idea that a fortuitous series of a zillion copying errors can design the human species has the same likelihood as the monkey with the typewriter coming up with the complete works of Shakespeare. I fully acknowledge that natural selection would, of course, encourage any new useful designs to get into the future. But the chances of any new useful design being created in the first place by this copying error method is 0. If you, like me, believe in evolution, then the only alternative rational explanation for Darwin's unknown laws of variation is a set of mathematical, algorithmic rules which facilitate the continuous churning out of useful variety. Is this possible? Yes, it is. And this is what I have set out to demonstrate with my computer-based research. It's a complicated subject, and some knowledge of arithmetic and computer programming is needed to fully understand the process. I give a flavour of my ideas in my published papers, which can be found by searching on Derek Philip Hough. We shouldn't really be surprised that such a system of variety generation is possible. Just look at what AI can now achieve using this algorithmic approach. Evolution is way ahead of what humans can achieve with AI. It has had billions of years to perfect its systems. Thank you for listening.